What does it really take to educate an entire nation? Well, today we're going to dive into the incredible 140-year journey of adult education in India. And you'll see it's a story that's not just about learning, it's about the evolution of the nation itself, from the most basic survival skills to, well, some pretty boundless modern ambition. So, when I say adult education, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Maybe night school or job training, some kind of online course, maybe. Well, in India, the answer has been all of that and so much more. The definition itself has been constantly shifting, evolving right alongside the country. So our story really unfolds in 5 distinct phases, 5 big chapters. We're going to start way back with basic literacy in pre-independence India and travel all the way to today's idea of lifelong learning. This timeline here, this is our roadmap. So let's jump right in at the very beginning. Okay, so our story kicks off in the late 19th century under the British Raj, and the whole concept of adult education, it wasn't born from some grand ambition. Nope, it started out of a massive, fundamental need. The initial focus was laser sharp. It was all about the 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic. But it wasn't just about memorizing things. The curriculum also included really practical stuff about health and hygiene and stories from history to give people a basic understanding of the world around them. This whole era really comes to life when you just try to picture it. Imagine people going to school from 7 to 10 at night after a full, hard day of work. The teachers, they were earning just a few extra rupees a month for this incredibly important job. And what's really crucial is that reformers were already pushing for education in local languages, arguing, hey, it's the only way to make this stuff actually stick. All right, so next up, a truly monumental event changes everything. India's independence in 1947. And this wasn't just a political shift, you guys. It fundamentally redefined the entire purpose of education for this brand new nation. The scale of the challenge they were facing was just immense. Get this, at independence, only 12.2% of the population was literate. Just think about that for a second. How do you build a modern democracy on a foundation like that? It was a staggering problem, and it demanded a completely new way of thinking about education. Yeah, the new leaders realized really fast that just basic literacy, the 3 R's, it wasn't going to be enough. Not even close. If you want to build a nation of informed voters and engaged citizens, the goals of education have to get a whole lot bigger. And that led to this idea of social education. The focus shifted from just individual skills to, a sense of collective responsibility. The new goal was to create active citizens, people who actually understood their rights, their duties, and felt a sense of unity in this new country. Then, by the mid-60s, the focus evolved again, this time with a sharp eye on economic development. This is where functional literacy comes in, the idea that education shouldn't be some abstract thing, but a practical tool that's directly linked to a person's job, making them more productive and hopefully improving their life. So what did functional literacy actually look like on the ground? Well, for a farmer, it was incredibly practical. It meant being able to read the instructions on a fertilizer bag, fill out a loan application without help, or even just take part in local community discussions. This was education with immediate, real-world benefits. And now we enter the modern era where the focus shifts dramatically. Thanks to some new global philosophies, education becomes less about just serving the nation's needs and way more about empowering the individual. A huge inspiration for this change came from the philosopher Paulo Freire, and his ideas, well, they were revolutionary. He believed education wasn't about cramming facts into your head. It was about learning to think critically, to understand your own situation and find the power within yourself to change it. So this thinking leads directly to the next phase, developmental literacy. The goal now wasn't just skills or citizenship, it was something so much deeper, liberation and empowerment. The whole point was to help people understand their social reality and give them the tools to make their own lives better. This was a radical new idea for what adult education could be. And the ambition here was just massive. The National Literacy Mission, launched back in 1988, set this absolutely staggering goal to make 80 million people functionally literate in just 7 years. That really shows you the sheer scale of what they were trying to do. But you know how it goes. The world kept racing forward into the 21st century. And with globalization and all this new technology, it became pretty clear that even this amazing approach wasn't quite enough. one final evolution was needed to keep up. And that brings us right up to today, to our current era, and this concept of lifelong learning. The core idea here is that education isn't a destination. It's not something you just finish. In a world that's always changing, the goal is to create a society where everyone is always learning, always adapting, and always picking up new skills. The main program for this vision, Sakshar Bharat, is pretty much a culmination of everything that came before it. It's incredibly comprehensive. It targets the most disadvantaged groups, it blends basic literacy with practical job skills, and it even offers a way for people to get formal qualifications. It's a truly all-in-one approach. You know, when you put it side by side like this, the contrast between where this all started and where we are now is just striking. On one side, you have these simple, essential goals of just basic literacy. And on the other, the huge ambition to create an entire learning society where education is just part of the fabric of everyday life. At the end of the day, this is so much more than a history of curriculum changes. It's really the story of a nation finding its own path, moving from tackling the most basic needs for survival to empowering its people with the ambition to really thrive in a complex, globalized world. So this whole journey leaves us with one final, pretty big question. We've seen 5 major transformations in 140 years. Now, with AI and technology reshaping our world all over again, what do you think the 6th phase of adult education is going to look like? What skills do you think will matter the most in the years ahead?